Dear friends, welcome to another episode of The Informant. In today's video, we'll be covering a very important topic. Why is South Korea so alarmed by the news that North Korean soldiers are being sent to support Russia in its invasion of Ukraine? Before we dive into this crucial topic, be sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Trust us, you won't want to miss the next videos. Now let's get into the details. On Tuesday, South Korea warned that it might consider sending weapons to Ukraine in response to allegations that North Korea has dispatched troops to support Russia. Both nations deny these claims, but tensions are undeniably high. The South Korean government has called for the immediate withdrawal of North Korean forces allegedly sent to Russia, making it clear they will not stand idle. South Korea's main concern is that Russia could repay North Korea by providing advanced technologies that could bolster Pyongyang's missile and nuclear programs, a direct threat to South Korean national security. During an emergency meeting of the National Security Council, South Korean officials condemned the deployment of North Korean troops as a grave threat and labeled the North Korean regime a criminal group that forces young men into mercenary service in an unjust war. South Korea has indicated that its response will escalate depending on the level of military cooperation between Russia and North Korea. This could include diplomatic, economic, and potentially military actions, such as supplying both defensive and offensive weapons to Ukraine. Since the Russian invasion of Ukraine in 2022, South Korea has joined US-led sanctions against Moscow, offering humanitarian and financial aid to Kyiv. But it has avoided sending weapons to maintain its policy of neutrality in active conflicts. Recent reports suggest that North Korea has sent special forces to Russia, with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky stating that as many as 10,000 North Korean soldiers could be mobilized to support Russian troops. South Korea is preparing to send experts to Brussels for discussions with NATO ambassadors. Meanwhile, the United States acknowledged for the first time on Wednesday that there is evidence of North Korean troops in Russia. South Korean lawmakers estimate that about 3,000 soldiers have already been deployed, with more on the way. U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin, speaking from Rome, warned that North Korean involvement in Ukraine would be extremely serious, although the exact nature of their role remains unclear. Over the past 2 years, military cooperation between North Korea and Russia has ramped up, culminating in a mutual defense agreement signed in June. Since August 2023, North Korea is believed to have sent over 13,000 containers of conventional weapons to reinforce Russia's arsenal. Both countries have denied the presence of North Korean troops in Russia, as well as the alleged arms transfers. At the United Nations, Russia's ambassador Vasily Nebenzia dismissed the accusations as absurd, while Kim Jong-un's powerful sister insulted the South Korean and Ukrainian governments, calling them lunatics for their criticisms. To truly understand the significance of this military alliance, we need to look back at the historical relationship between North Korea and Russia. During the Cold War, the Soviet Union was North Korea's primary ally, providing economic and military aid. While the fall of the Soviet Union weakened this bond, recent years, particularly in the wake of Russia's global isolation due to sanctions, have seen Moscow and Pyongyang reforge ties. In 2024, this partnership escalated with a formal military cooperation pact between Kim Jong-un and Vladimir Putin. The agreement covers mutual assistance in the event of an attack and the exchange of military technology, fueling concerns that it could further advance North Korea's nuclear weapons program. But this partnership has taken an even more dangerous turn. Recent reports have confirmed that North Korea has sent special forces troops to Russia to bolster its war effort against Ukraine, with another 10,000 expected in the coming weeks. For Russia, which is fighting a protracted and grueling conflict, allied support is critical. But what does this mean for the rest of the world, especially South Korea? South Korea was the first to strongly condemn the deployment of these troops. The government summoned the Russian ambassador, demanding the immediate withdrawal of the North Korean soldiers, arguing that their presence poses a grave threat not only to South Korea, but to global security as a whole. South Korean President Suk-yeol stated that his government would not stand idly by, labeling the North Korean-Russian military collaboration as reckless. He reiterated his recent promise that South Korea would send arms and ammunition to Ukraine in response to North Korea's involvement in Putin's war. The presence of North Korean soldiers alongside Russian forces could be a prelude to Russia sharing advanced military technologies, such as intercontinental ballistic missiles, or even nuclear technology. This could dramatically shift the balance of power in Asia, a scenario that has NATO and the United States deeply concerned. While there is no official confirmation that these troops are already on the front lines, multiple videos suggest that North Korean forces are in Russia, receiving equipment and training at Russian military bases. Despite being special forces, many analysts argue that North Korean troops lack recent experience in large-scale international conflicts. Their last major involvement was in the Korean War, which ended in an armistice in 1953. This raises questions about how effective these troops will be in supporting Russian military operations in Ukraine. Even so, the mere arrival of these troops represents a symbolic win for Russia, which has struggled with casualties and logistical challenges in a war that has dragged on for over 2.5 years. For North Korea, this involvement presents an opportunity to gain access to technologies that could strengthen its military and nuclear programs, a concern not just for South Korea, but for the entire world. For South Korea, which already faces constant threats from North Korea's nuclear and missile programs, this cooperation between Pyongyang and Moscow poses a direct risk to national security. Kim Jong-un recently severed all diplomatic ties with Seoul and has declared that North Korea is ready to use nuclear weapons preemptively. If Russia provides North Korea with advanced technologies as part of their military partnership, Kim's regime could accelerate its nuclear program, putting South Korea in immediate danger. There's also the fear that this North Korea-Russia cooperation could further destabilize the East Asian region. The long-standing alliance between Seoul and Washington may be tested if South Korea feels compelled to respond more aggressively, such as by sending weapons to Ukraine, something it has so far avoided to prevent escalating the conflict. So the key question remains: why is South Korea so determined to prevent North Korean troops from fighting for Russia and Ukraine? The answer is clear, though fraught with geopolitical implications. First, South Korea views this as a direct escalation of the threat posed by North Korea. Any military or political strengthening of Pyongyang jeopardizes Seoul's security. This alliance with Russia is more than just symbolic. It could result in tangible military advancements that would bolster Kim Jong-un's regime. Second, South Korea fears that North Korean support for Russia and Ukraine could open the door for a dangerous exchange of military favors, including the transfer of sensitive Russian technologies. This could fast-track the development of nuclear weapons and long-range missiles that could target not only South Korea, but US bases and allies in the region. Finally, allowing North Korea to gain military experience in a modern conflict like Ukraine could make Pyongyang an even more unpredictable and dangerous force, not just for the Korean peninsula but for the entire world. For South Koreans, the deployment of North Korean troops to Russia is far more than a tactical move. It's a strategic shift that could fundamentally alter the balance of power in Asia and further entrench Kim Jong-un's regime. South Korea, understandably, sees this as a direct threat to its national security and regional stability. As the war in Ukraine drags on, the growing alliance between Pyongyang and Moscow is a sobering reminder that global alliances are constantly evolving, and the repercussions could reach far beyond the battlefield. The US and NATO are closely monitoring the situation, with consultations underway among allies about this potentially volatile development in international relations. Meanwhile, North Korea continues to dismiss all allegations, calling them attempts to tarnish its global image. If you value independent journalism and want to support our work, consider buying us a coffee using the QR code on your screen. Your contributions are vital to help us keep delivering in-depth analysis and high-quality insights. Stay tuned for more updates, and don't forget to subscribe to The Informant for the latest news on the world's most urgent geopolitical issues.